Welcome. Today we're talking with Dr. Rudy Garrity, and he is with the American Learnership Forum, and he's the author of Your Integral Life Matters. This is a handbook on American learning, leading, and legacy success. Dr. Garrity, welcome.
Thank you very much. I'm pleased to be here.
Can you describe for us what the American Learnership Forum is?
I'd like to. The American Learnership Forum is a nonprofit organization. It's a 501c3 charitable organization. We formed it about 7 years ago for the purpose of helping other nonprofits in their work. So that means that we can either help them in kind, or we can earn through our consulting or coaching revenue that we can share with them.
Wonderful. And how is it going for you?
It's going pretty well. It's slow anytime you come out of one arena and go into the other.
Sure.
I had spent over 40 years working in the public and private sector on technical programs, technical problems, and DoD issues. So the nonprofit community was a new area for me that I knew I needed to work in, spend part of my time in life working in it, and I had to make the change and accommodate whatever changes I had to make.
So in your own personal life, you've gone through the steps of the learning, the leading, and now you're in the legacy phase of the success. Can you tell us about Your Integral Life Matters, this book that you've written?
Surely. Sometimes in life, you really can't write about or talk about things until you've actually done them. And so it dawned on me after a successful career and working as a consultant and a coach and getting paid fairly well, that I had gone through most of the phases already myself, and if I could just combine the actual experience with the academic experience and knowledge, that I might have something that I could share with people. And the unusual thing about what I was trying to do was I was trying to bring together the various disciplines that you might find in the university, where you might find a school of engineering, a school of business, a school of human resource growth and development. And my interest was, I knew some things in those areas, but not all the things necessary to be an expert in those areas. But my view was, and has been for a long time, that in order to be a human being living and growing in life, you need to know something about everything. And so if I could cross-discipline a lot of things one to another and show the linkages, that might be a contribution to the field.
Wonderful. Now, in your book, you talk about the personal development level, the organization or business development level.
Right.
Then you look at the community level.
Right.
And finally, the societal level, the whole world. And how can you describe for the viewers, how do those interplay?
It's very interesting that we don't normally think about it, but we all live in a social system. So we're a system of systems. And at the micro level, we would be our own system, our family and things like that. And we're taking care of that, and that's primarily our most interest for most people. Secondarily, though, we all have to go to work or go somewhere to contribute to our life and have an income. So that would be the next level up, where we meet with other similar people and we share knowledge and we share expertise and we do things together. That would be the organization or business level. And then the third level is what we do when we come home. We have the regular community where they have government and we have businesses and we have educational programs and schools. And those are all going on every day anyway. So we sort of move from domain to domain to domain. The largest domain, which overlaps all of them, is the societal domain, because we're all part of society. So my idea was that we have to learn to know where the boundaries are, but not use the boundaries to separate ourselves. We have to integrate ourselves to fit together. So simultaneously, we're living in the personal, the organizational, the community, and the world. And therefore, is there special knowledge or skills or attitudes that are necessary to become a fulfilled person dealing with all those responsibilities?
So, so many of us look for happiness, for self-fulfillment, and want to be a contributing member of society. And I noticed a graph in your book that had the normal lifespan and achievement levels of your typical American. And then there was a line above that about the age of 35 to 45, that some individuals break away and actually take off at that age. Whereas most of society kind of plays out, these enlightened individuals raise in their understanding, in their achievements, and in their ability to contribute to society. And that's extraordinary. How did you recognize or come up with these concepts?
That one was surprised me because I had gone about my family raising, my job, my career until I was about 45 or so, and I was just falling forward. I was just doing whatever life asked me to do and take advantage of whatever opportunities were there. I happened to be participating in a University of Southern California doctoral program in public administration, where I was learning a lot more about personal growth, personal development, and organizational performance. And what was interesting, when it came time to do a doctorate, they wanted me to pick a small slice to be a real expert in. And I said to them, I can't do that because at the age I was, at 45, my problem was understanding how everything fit together, not how the simple pieces work together. So their view was, well, maybe you can't do that here because we don't do that for our students. So I did manage to get it to work out, and excuse me. And in the end, I did a successful doctoral dissertation on the basis of how do these various disciplines and domains come together, and how could you get your mind around them? Going back to your basic question it was that knowledge that set me free to say, now that I've looked into this, there's no reason a person can't restart, refocus, re-energize themselves to go in other directions, particularly if you're building on something that you've done before. You don't have to keep doing what you have been doing. You can pick a track. They call that a second encore career these days. But at the time, I was simply deciding what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. And that just stimulated me to go for it.
That's wonderful. Very innovative. You know, one of the things I noticed about the offerings in your program is that it's sort of a buffet of all of the disciplines that are known to be valid and necessary for success, for self-fulfillment. But one can pick and choose which of these disciplines are applicable to their own life, to their own career.
Right.
And can you talk a little bit about the variety that's offered and what the options are for the individual?
Yeah, for the individual in general, we all have a career field that we start. It might be in psychological work, or it might be in social sciences, or it might be in engineering. Mine was in business management, master's in business administration, then a doctorate in public administration. And that was my choice, but along the way I had to work with a lot of engineers on projects, and I got to know their mindset. I had to also end up becoming a financier and a treasury agent for a particular government agency. And so what I found out is you can go left and go right and pick up the skill set that's necessary to perform in other domains. It dawned on me that everybody had the same choices to some degree. If you're in an active area where there's a lot of complexity and a lot going on, you have more choices to get involved in. If you're maybe in a more rural or a suburban area, you don't have as many choices. But the idea for personal growth is to get many choices, have many careers and sub-careers, so that you can fill your head up with as many good things that you can use to advance yourself, your family, your children, and make a contribution to business. So it seems to me that everybody has choices to make regardless of where you particularly start.
We're talking with Dr. Rudy Garrity of the American Learnership Forum and his handbook called Your Integral Life Matters. And one of the great things about the program that you've set up is that it's in sections. There's 4 sections. And section 1 is kind of the foundation, the body of the vehicle, if you will. And section 2 gets into the engine. Once you've laid that foundation, once you've built the body of that vehicle, you put that engine in there. Can you talk about the 5 points of that engine, section 2?
Yes, one of the interesting things in trying to express or write down what you're learning about a lot of things that somehow you want to bring together is that you don't usually know where to start to build. What does the architecture look like? And even if you had an architecture, where would you start in rolling it out? So trying to get things in sequence so they constantly build with one another. I knew for sure that we wanted to have something focused on the personal, the organization, the community, and society in general, because that's where you deliver the results. The question was, how do you select the things that matter, the behaviors, the attitudes that would matter in all areas but not necessarily equally? So I had this view that there must be some kind of engine, some kind of way of thinking, some kind of tool or technology that if we could do things together in a similar way, they would have equal effect or similarly a similar effect in all those areas. And as it turned out, after much research, I found out that things like systems thinking, very, very fundamental to break people out of their own pre-programmed way of being, to look at other ways of being, looking at pattern or preference choices, which takes into account people's psychology and how they think about their life on earth and how they're dealing with other people. If you add those two together, that allowed you to be a better learner because you knew the breadth and the depth of things that you were familiar with, and it also cautioned you to not always think that what you already knew was the answer, because you're always learning every day, you're evolving. Those three together put me right into knowledge management, where I was doing work at the George Washington University with their particular school and also their institute on integral knowledge management. And it looked to me like if you were a good learner, you could be a good knowledge manager because you'd have the best knowledge to work with. And in the end, you'd have to say, but what does that mean to anybody? So you know academically things, you know what knowledge management can do for you. Well, guess what? That's what the leader needs to be able to have that at his fingertips or her fingertips so that they can make decisions that actually achieve results. So you need to go around this cycle, around and around and around every day, always open to your personal learning, whether it's relevant to the situations you find yourself involved with. And so that became the engine. I could see it twirling, going around, and there's two pieces of it. There's the piece where you sort of look externally to what's going on, and you assess, and you decide, and you execute, and then you see if that actually gives you good results.
Assess, decide, execute, okay.
And that's how you can work on a problem, let's say intellectually. Mm-hmm. The other piece of it is, how do you respond personally for your own personal growth? Because then you have to sense what's going on in your world, in yourself. You have to decide how you'd want to adapt and how you'd want to respond. So you were always going through, I'm going to sense what I'm feeling, I'm going to adapt as well as I can to what I'm feeling, I'm going to respond accordingly, and accordingly is a trick because you don't always want to necessarily respond the way you should, even though you know better. So you have to continue to discipline yourself psychologically as you go forward.
So the end goal is really happiness. It's self-fulfillment. It's high performance, and it's creating opportunities in life for more and more people to experience these things. What's the goal for you? What's the end goal for you? Why do this?
The end goal for me, particularly as a person who's semi-retired, who's had a good career, is to somehow take my experience and knowledge, share with other people, so that they can do this on themselves, for their families, and for their businesses as they need to. It's not to control or make them do anything the way I would do it. I've had my own experiences. They're having their experiences. Each person has to go down the buffet table that you described, and they got to pick and choose the things that are right for them, and then they need to free themselves to go for it, because their personhood depends upon them having the ability and the willingness to go forward and achieve what they can achieve. And it has nothing to do with me personally. It has to do with them taking whatever's available in a knowledge-sharing economy, to take what they can and go and be as good as they can be. That's just its own happiness right there for me.
So regardless of what career path you've chosen, where you are in those stages of life. The American Learnership Forum has a comprehensive program on how your integral life really matters and what you can do at each phase to maximize your growth, your potential, and your education. We're talking with Dr. Rudy Garrity of the American Learnership Forum. I thank you for your time today.
Well, thank you very much. It's been great to be here.